Good morning, everybody.
We are live from somewhere other than the Loop. Thanks, Loop. But we are here with a couple business owners in Burlington at the lovely Buzzed Wine Bar. We are also doing a couple things today, actually 3 things. One, we upped the count of better looking people.
Yes.
Us too.
Definitely. And Brad finally got a haircut.
And I got a haircut, so I didn't have to wear a hat this week.
You thank
We'll
for that.
thank my wife for that, which we'll introduce her in a second. Of course, we are the Eagles Nest podcast with Coldwell Banker on the Eagle Homes team. I'm of course Brad Brewer.
And I'm Vince DeBall.
And I'll introduce our guest today. Again, we are at the lovely Buzzed Wine Bar, which I know many of you, if you're watching from Burlington or outside area, probably frequent quite often. And this is Melissa Smith, one of the owners. And of course,
Her bestie.
Andrea Brewer, who does some
Customer turned employee.
customer turned part-time employee and also the owner of Creative Corner here, also in Burlington. We'll let them go ahead and let them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about each of your businesses, and then we are gonna do some bourbon and wine tasting this morning.
Woo, 9 a.m. drinking.
So
Excited.
we'll let our host start. Melissa, tell us a little about, whatever you want to say, history, how Buzz came about, whatever you want to
Let's
share.
start with where is Buzz? We know it's in Burlington. Where's that?
We are at 588 North Pine Street, right next to Fred's Burgers, the corner of Milwaukee and Pine.
Awesome.
Can't miss us.
Yeah.
Cannot.
So
Cannot.
That's what I'll keep.
We did have a small location across the street where we started out where Twigs and Twine currently is.
Okay.
We quickly outgrew that and then moved over here about 2 years ago.
And
Yeah,
probably quickly outgrowing this space too with some of the popularity. Huh?
yeah.
That's awesome.
you say it's popular?
It is.
It's very
It is.
popular. I'm here a lot.
I hear they have the absolute best servers in town.
Yeah.
They do,
Yeah.
they do, yes. And
Suit your own going.
but do not get out of my hand. I know the head of security. He will take you down. So anyway, Andrew, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure, I'm Andrea Brewer. This is my other half.
In
Not
this-
me.
In the beautiful sweater. She might be your other half. I'm not sure. It's possible.
I started out as Antique Craze Creations. I bake specialty fancy decorated cookies for any occasion, and then I started offering classes. And I also started in a small space called the Cookie Corner. And now I just expanded up the street to Antique Craze Creative Corner, and I expanded my class offerings. So we do pretty much anything crafty you can think of. I'm kind of like the poor version of Martha Stewart, so embroidery, cookie decorating still, kids classes, what?
The non-felon version.
Yeah, the non-felon version.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I have never been convicted of any.
Convicted is the key word there.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
with the 2 of you, I wouldn't surprise if that happened. But that's okay. Anyway, so Melissa, just a couple quick questions since we are here at Buzz today.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with Buzz? What was the background?
So this is not my background for my career. I was in finance for 25 years. Had big companies like Kraft and Pyrex and Newell Brands on Coleman, doing corporate finance during COVID. And I lived in Chicago during COVID. I just couldn't take it anymore. We had gone through tons of tariff increases, so it was just pricing increases. And then when COVID hit, I actually was on a business that took off and it was like crazy because I was in the camping business. So everybody wanted to get outside. I also was on the Contigo business, which was your thermal mugs, which tanked because nobody was leaving the house. So you don't need to have your thermal mug. But along with that, we also had a whole bunch of supply chain issues and transportation issues. So again, price increases and just, it was the same thing day in and day out. And the one thing I missed was being with my team and talking to people and coaching them and developing them because you weren't in the office.
Right.
At the same time, Chicago was kind of changing and a lot of stuff was shutting down and it just wasn't fun anymore. So Mark and I said, let's move. And then I said, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna open a wine bar. And not that I had this huge passion for wine, but I did have a passion for like having a fun day out with my friends, and my girlfriend Sandra and I would always travel and we would do a little shopping, stop at a wine bar, do a little shopping, stop at a wine bar. So I wanted to create something like that, like an atmosphere where you could come in, feel like you were in your living room and just relax, be approachable, not be snobby, and have some wine. So it's been learning for me, but it's been fun.
So yeah, you really took a different turn there.
Yeah.
And you had no Did you ever work in a restaurant? or
No, I've
ever?
never worked in a restaurant. Mark's worked in a I'd worked in a high-end restaurant in Sagatuck, Michigan. I had never,
Wow.
so that was fun. Probably 80% of our job is washing dishes.
Yeah.
It's cool, you can talk to people while you're doing it.
Best dishwasher in town. I can
Yeah.
attest to that. And by the way,
Yeah.
Mark Helder, I said one of the owners, the other owner is Mark Helder. I would say she is Mark's better half, obviously. Well, yeah, you definitely took a crazy turn here,
So
so.
what brought you to Burlington though, like Chicago to Burlington?
Yeah, so when we were in Chicago, we're like, let's get out of Chicago, and we had a townhouse there. And it just wasn't as fun, and we're like, let's get a lake house to get away for the weekends, because we knew we weren't going back into the office anytime soon. And Mark's from Michigan, and then my sister, who works here on Saturdays, was up here in Wisconsin, and so we're kind of looking at both places and ended up in Wisconsin to be closer to my family. And then Burlington, we looked at a lot of places, we looked at Union Grove and Twin Lakes, and just nothing really had the foot traffic. And then we were here for Ice Fest, 2021, 2022, I think it was 2021 at that time. And we're like, oh, this is perfect. It's a good size, a super cute downtown. And then I stumbled into the old place across the street, which was owned by the folks that own the Rustic Barrel. They outgrew it and they now have a place on Highway P. And then we've just kind of fallen in love with Burlington. It's super similar to the town I grew up in Illinois, Barrington. Historic downtown, some regulations on the buildings and things, but just like a nice local vibe.
I can totally understand that. I grew up in a very similar small town in Indiana. It's about 10,000, 12,000 people, lake community, stuff like that. So I can get the attraction, and in real estate, you know, we have people coming in from out of town. It's so funny how many times when we're showing different areas, the Waterford, Lake Geneva, I cannot tell you how many times people have actually chosen Burlington. It's really insane. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the attraction is. Maybe it's just
Maybe it's us.
maybe it's just great, wonderful business owners like these two. So, but
So,
yeah.
so
So there's alcohol in front of us, by the way.
Yeah, there's.
there
alcohol.
is.
Yeah.
So,
Should we jump into one or should Andrea tell us how she got into
yeah,
her
let's,
crazy creations? I mean, crazy creation.
yeah, let's,
Cookie corner slash creative.
It's just a bunch of C's and a bunch of A's and you mix them all up. and-
Yeah.
Get a crown.
That's funny, because my last name was Cunningham too, so A's and C's, I don't know.
yeah, so you have to give some quick background and,
I kind of had the same-ish story as I had owned a very stressful salon. And I say stressful because there were many employees and moving parts and things like that, and COVID hit. And the licensed stylist could no longer work in a licensed facility. So I got to go home and bake food for people and they could buy it from me. So somehow that was crazy. And I just started making cookies. I was bored at home. I need more cookies. I started bringing cookies to people. And then they say, can I buy some for my kid's birthday party? So I had to kind of establish a price point at that point. And then I grew out of that space, or grew out of my home, got a studio just for pickups and decorating. And because I had the studio, I decided I could start doing classes. And it just organically grew, but
Yeah.
again, it was a pivot that came during COVID.
Yeah, I think COVID changed how people do, everything nowadays. And it was, I think, for the best, right? In a sense,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
There was some
yeah,
good
It's a
things that came
different-
out.
there's some good things, like, so
Yeah.
people got a little more creative in
Yes.
how they did things.
It's always the before COVID and after COVID, like
Yeah.
everything is
The
before and
life
after,
before
the
that,
life
yeah.
before and the life
yeah,
after.
well, in our business, getting someone to see a home virtually. Like us being there and touring them on their phone, tablet, or whatever, I
Okay,
mean,
it's
people-
Monday morning.
people push back, maybe someone was relocated out of state because it was their only option. COVID totally changed that.
Yeah.
I mean, we did virtual open houses, we did virtual showings, that's all. COVID did change a lot for the good and the bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's for sure.
Yep.
That's for sure. So we have some bourbon and some wine in front of us.
Yeah,
So the ladies will be tasting the wines today. And Vince and I.
Or taste the bourbons.
Taste the bourbons,
At
so
9:20 in the
Yeah.
morning, so
it's,
so 9:15, yes.
we're taking it seriously, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, I have no
Yeah.
idea where it's 5 o'clock, but we're gonna.
So we have some notes in front of us, cause Brad and I cheated
Yeah,
on
so-
what this stuff is, but we have 3 bourbons, 3 wines.
Yep.
And today we're talking about Nelson Brothers whiskey. Trying it. James E. Pepper, which is one of my favorites, by the way. And then Amador, Did I say it right? Amador,
Yep.
alright.
And as we're tasting these, we'll give you some backgrounds on the bourbons. Melissa, you probably know more about the wines. You wanna tell us about the?
Yeah, we're gonna start with the Fossil Point Rosé.
No wonder I loved it when I
Okay,
tasted it
now-
already.
And
You
then-
were already drinking it?
I had a little sip because I was just parched.
I
I
was-
thought the wine glass looked better than my bottle.
And then we're gonna move on to a Muscadet from France and then Grenache from Spain. And all of these things are available at Buzz. And then just before you get into it, everything at Buzz, we select, based on, the majority of them are small, family-owned boutique wineries, distilleries. We try very hard to make sure that they're not available anywhere else. You can go to the grocery store and get anything on that huge like wine and liquor wall, but coming from my background where I worked for big companies like that, I know it costs a lot of money to get into there. You have to give crazy pricing. And some of these smaller guys, they don't have the means to compete with those people. So we like to try to give them the opportunity to do that. Like our customers like to support local and support small.
Mhm.
We don't have many local things because we like to have, I mean, we've got California, France, Spain right here. We like to make sure we have a breadth of assortment in wines and stuff, but we do try to support small.
Yeah.
So,
I got a question on how you select the wines, but I'm gonna start us into the first wine and first bourbon. But
Yeah.
I was fascinated because I got to go to a bourbon tasting last year with Mark.
Yeah.
I think I assisted in making some selections, I'm not sure, or I just got really drunk tasting. There was over 250 bourbons we could have tasted. By the way, the quick math on that would have been about drinking 2.5 bottles for the sizes they were pouring, so we did not taste all 250. I did no idea how many bourbons are there, and I know there's just a ton of wines, so
Yeah.
that would be a follow-up question, so. Let's get the first one. The first one you guys are tasting is, I believe, is the Fossil Point.
Yep.
Correct, so I've got a little bit of history here,
Oh.
and by the way,
oh, I wanna hear what you have.
all the history here, it was sourced from ChatGPT, which pulls from the World Wide Web.
And puts it in a nice description, allows us to talk about
Yeah,
it.
so if there's any errors here, blame ChatGPT. We're gonna blame technology. Alright, so a little bit of history. Fossil Point is a winery located in California's Central Coast. And by the way, she'll probably be able to correct me on anything
Yeah,
that's
that's
wrong here.
pretty good.
So, cause she's smarter than ChatGPT on wines. So, they are a region renowned, of course, for diverse microclimates.
Yep.
And ideal grape growing conditions.
Yeah, so where they're from is called the Edna Valley.
Okay.
And there's a valley that runs from the ocean directly through to the vineyards.
Yeah.
So they get all of like that cool morning air, which just helps grow the grapes and keep them super crisp and then bring that kind of uniqueness of the air into the grapes and into the wine.
She literally nailed the history here. So, great job. Tasting notes, Fossil Point is a rosé. By the way, I'm a little jealous because 2 of the 3 wines are 2 of my favorites. I am a rosé guy in the summertime, like something cooler to drink, and I love it. I'm a little sad there today, but I'm taking on the bourbons. It's typically crafted in a dry style with vibrant flavors of red berries, watermelon, and citrus. It's crisp. Acidity makes it refreshing and food friendly. So,
And I like to say that a rosé is actually a red in like a Halloween costume because it's actually a red grape
Yes.
that they just incorporate the red skins into for various amounts of time. And so that's where the rosé color comes from. So it kind of helps that dry white wine person gateway into red wines, I think.
perfect. And then the food it suggests is summer salads, seafood, and light pasta dishes.
Yeah, pizza, pasta.
Oh.
Yeah, and I know, and we did this at Thanksgiving as well. So, and I know you like this in the summer. I'll drink this all year round.
I will drink it all year
Yeah.
round, I'm naturally just a red drinker, but I do like the cooler stuff in the summertime, so. I'm gonna run through the Amador is the first.
Hold on, I wanna go back.
Okay,
I think the color of a rosé is awesome, especially for gift giving. And I love this Fossil Point, it's so good. So I personally think this makes an awesome Christmas gift or birthday gift, wedding gift, pop bow on here, especially because the color of it, like with the golds and silvers of Christmas. So just kind of a slight little plug there, I think it's an awesome gift giving one.
Let me ask a quick question then. I see many of you can't see this, but stop the buzz. I see a ton of wines on the shelf. Alright, can you purchase a bottle of wine here? to
Yeah,
go?
everything we serve, we sell.
Okay,
I'm sorry, yeah, everything we serve, we sell. And then what's actually cool about that is, we don't have wines that are $10. Most of ours are, $20 and higher, this one's $25. And a lot of times when you go to the store, you're like, I don't know if I want to invest in that. As a side note though, I would say on that $10 wine, if you break it down, this is just my background coming. I mean, think about how much does the glass cost for the bottle, the label, the transportation, right? Like,
right,
you're probably, a good $3-4 into just the materials, and then you're getting like, $3 of wine because the retailers need their markup, so.
That's a good point.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
so don't be afraid of a $25 wine or a $30 wine.
But here you can actually taste.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
so all
what
that
I'm
to say that everything that's on our shelf to buy, the majority of it, we have available for tasting, so if
Yeah.
you wanna give it a try. More than heck that the bourbon's included.
come and drink a bottle and then take a bottle home.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So while they starting to taste their House Point, I'm gonna give a little description of the Amador. There's, for some reason, there's no history. ChatGPT got lazy on that one, but that's okay. But this was selected this morning because it is a wine influenced bourbon. It actually, it sits in, I believe, Chardonnay, that doesn't say, it says double barrel bourbon finished with Napa Valley wine barrels, but it does not say Chardonnay.
Yeah.
So Chardonnay barrels. perfect.
so Amador actually has a few different types. They have like a Bourbon as well, which is wonderful, and we chose the Chardonnay. It was just a little bit different than the rest of our.
Bourbon's that on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yep.
So because it's sitting in the Chardonnay barrels, so it is distilled in Kentucky like many bourbons are. But then it's then shipped to California for the finished releases. Its flavor profiles are notes of caramel, honey, vanilla with hints of fruit and spice from the wine barrel finish. So,
Very smooth going
Yeah.
down, just a little bit of heat into it, I like it.
yeah, I was judging on especially bourbons. I like smoothness. I like a little bit of that burn, I guess you call it.
That bite at the
that
end.
bite at the end.
I don't like it when it burns when it hits your tongue. Then it's.
Right, but they are great when you're sick, so I was sick last year. I think it was this last winter, and I actually started drinking bourbons then because I was just so sick and my throat hurt and I just felt like crap, and so I just wanted to just get a little something, yes, to help me sleep and just to kind of coat the throat a
Yeah.
little bit. And I found one at home in our selection that Brad actually is not his favorite, but it was one of my favorites, and so for me, it's kind of like a end of the day, late night, cozy on the couch sort of cocktail. I also wanted to add that at Buzzed, we have really cool rock ice cubes. They have the little bee and the buzz on them, so Melissa made
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
about every 10th one you can see really well.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so you can get both the tasting, which is 3 ounces, 1 ounce of 3 different bourbons, or you can get it on the rock, which, or neat, but it's a 3 ounce pour, so
And
that's
they're
just
all
a nice,
$14.
that's just a really nice amount for a cocktail, I think, because not all bourbon pours are a 3 ounce at restaurants and places like this.
And $14.
And they're.
Yeah,
Yeah,
$14,
again, speaking of the
yes.
value, your value per pour is better than somewhere else that
Yep.
might be charging you, maybe say $24 for less, I mean, that's just. one of the-
28, 42, yep.
Oh, yeah, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna try that one, and then I get the bill, I'm like,
Yep,
holy cow, that was a $40 pour.
yeah,
That was.
affordably 18 for like just a 1 ounce. And it's
Mark was
like
somewhere
60.
and he was picking them for a flight, and he's like, I'll take the number like 8, the number 30, and blah, blah, and I was like, those aren't the numbers, that's the price. And so this bottle retails for $40.
So just like the wines, like she said, everything that we're showing here today, you can come in and have a cocktail. By the way, they do mix cocktails. I know, one of my favorites, the old fashioned on the menu. I don't know if there's anything else you want to highlight as far as the mixed cocktails, but you guys have a pretty good.
Yeah, it's a small selection, but we try to cover everything, and then we do have a couple seasonal ones that will change out.
Yeah.
And the old fashioned's by far the most popular.
The espresso martinis up there too.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I had that one a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago when the girls were at dance. That
I'm
was
not even a
delicious.
cocktail person, but the cocktails here are very good.
was delicious, yeah.
Okay,
So our next wine is from
The-
France.
Yep, it's the
And-
Muscadet, from France. We did this one at one of our wine tastings, so we also do wine tastings. I noticed you pronounce it, it was today, yeah. You can, and if you try to pronounce something and you wanna call this the Rose, you wanna call this the Muscadet, like, that's totally fine.
The muskrat?
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah,
but Nathan.
yeah, we did. And yeah, we were calling it Muscadet, and then Nathan was like, oh, the Muscadet, and it's like, oh my gosh, over here. Merlot.
That-
For a lot.
There's actually no here that says often mispronounced as Muscat.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yes, yeah, they,
Yeah, Chat GPT's just overachieving a little bit.
Yeah, they
Except on that history thing. You know the characteristics, you want me to read them off?
you could read them out,
So-
yeah.
It
She'll
says,
correct you if you're wrong, don't worry.
tasting notes on the Muscadet as often sweet or off dry with notes of orange blossom, honey, and ripe stone fruits like peach and apricot.
Yeah, I would say this one's more on the off dry to dry side.
It's kind of funny too, because all the wines today, we're gonna know foods they pair with well. Apparently bourbon, whiskey just pairs with anything you're eating. Because there's no pairing suggestion, but it's kind of funny.
I think that's our choice.
Again, fruit-based desserts, cheese plates,
Seafood.
seafood, yep.
Yeah.
So just a couple things.
So the next one, we're not even gonna shorten the notes, we're just gonna see how well she matches
Oh,
her.
Andrea, could you do this one?
My wife might hit the next one by herself.
Alright, so that's,
I know it's.
we're gonna test them.
I know it's one of her favorites on that one, so we'll get back to that. The next one, Vince, maybe he can speak to it, because he says it's one of his favorites.
Alright,
Because I know the last one was one of my favorites, because I buy it, of course, from Buzz, and
And this one's
Have it
new
all.
for us too.
Yep.
You had a sneak peek of it. We had a sparkling event and wine tasting last Saturday and then kind of debuted it there, so, but it's now on the menu.
nice.
I'm gonna let you talk about it while I start
So,
tasting it.
it's the James E. Pepper, bourbon, it's originally from Lexington, Kentucky. It's promoted in a lot of old fashioned cocktails. But the distillery's tagline is born with the Republic, it reflects its long history dating back to 1780.
Wow.
So, talking about a bourbon that's been around for a long time, right there. After decades of, being around, the distillery was revived in 2017.
I warned you this one's gonna bite. Yeah,
It does have a little bit of bite. Distillery emphasizes techniques and uses water from local limestone aquifers and a hallmark of Kentucky bourbon. So I really like this one. I think it, goes really well straight on neat on the rocks. However you want to drink it, and then old fashions too. But I prefer, I drink a lot of mine on the rocks just to cool it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do. It's one of my favorites.
yeah. I actually don't understand how people drink it neat, because I like it cool down.
Yeah, but
Now, Andrea did one that.
yeah, I actually prefer it to be
Yeah.
almost warm, like what are those snippers where they put it over the little warmer? Like almost like that to me, like a really, really heavy, like molten cider sort of thing, but that's just how I like mine. is
I
as
did
a
a Albanian tasting a while ago, and they did say if you put ice in it, it kind of closes it off a little bit. Same with like if I have another wine in my next glass, like don't wash it with water. Use your next wine to rinse it, so it doesn't close it off, and it just keeps it open.
And it definitely has a bite.
Yep.
And it's now sitting here. It's working its way down. I can feel it. It's one of those you can feel it. So this, I like that smooth with a slight bite. Apparently Vince likes a little heavier bite.
Well, and I think, when you have it on ice, it definitely
Takes the
just
bite out.
takes the bite out a little bit, especially like as it hits your tongue.
Yeah.
Originally, so I
like more the vanilla caramel.
you did you try the first one that we?
No, let me try that one.
Well, Brad, you have me left.
Brad,
that
you have
bitch.
some left.
Which one do you want?
Amador.
Amador,
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrea likes a little more, definitely kind of smooth all over typically.
And all of the things that we do have, because I know you mentioned it with the water they use, if not organic, definitely like SIP certified and sustainable. So they try to use as much as they can from the vineyards and from how the things are distilled to bring out the natural flavors of the spirit of the wines.
So I almost forgot my question. So my question was, I was amazed with all these different varieties. And I'm sure there's way more than we're at this bourbon tasting, but who helps you kind of with all these selections out there, decide, just narrow it down enough, because you can't taste every wine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what-
so so legally, we're all required to go through distributors. If you own a bar, that's, you have to purchase. So then there's a ton of distributors, right? So there's a bunch that we partner with, some represent big brands. And some have more of like a smaller boutique five. So these three that we've chosen are from kind of the smaller boutique vibes. These guys come from, two of them are from larger companies, just because they represent more like spirit portfolios. But, like Nathan, you guys know Nathan, he's wonderful, and his company is exactly the same as what we are. So when they're bringing things in, they want to represent the small ones. They want to make sure that they're doing good things for the land. They want to make sure they're not adding anything to the line.
Yeah.
These are all relatively small productions. So 1,600 cases produced of this. These guys are a little over 10,000 cases. To compare that, Naomi makes 1.5 billion cases of their Pinot Noir. The Prisoner makes 300,000 cases of their red blend. So, I mean, they can't produce enough grapes for that, so they have to buy the grapes. These guys are all local producing. They know what goes into it. They know how to grapes.
That's all,
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious with that, because like, I was just overwhelmed
Yeah,
with all the opportunities.
You can
to taste
be.
different things.
yeah,
And I counted on, there were distributors there.
Yeah.
At this event, and you, like, I figured you might say something like that as far as relying on distributors, because I'm like, I started asking like, what should I taste, or this is what I like.
Yeah.
What should, because I couldn't taste all the fifty.
sorry.
What I think you, at least I know because you've dealt with Nathan and I've been close enough to know, is that you will find where's there a hole in what we have built. Like if a Cabernet is gone now, you can't get anymore. You're kind of trying to fill it, not necessarily with Cabernet, but something that fits that flavor profile so that there's a little something for everybody on the plate. And I think that's what Nathan does really well, is like, okay, let's just find the ones that go into that particular category.
We get a lot of people that come in across the board and they say, I've never heard of any of these things. And we say, cool,
Good.
like, that's awesome.
Yep.
So we have flights, so the bourbons, you can choose any of the flight, anything you want on it. The wine flights, we kind of curate those for maybe a grape we've never heard of or a brand you've never heard of, and then you try it and see. We often get asked for Pinot Grigio. We don't have Pinot Grigio here. I have a hard time finding one that I think that's interesting, but we have a couple others that are close and they say, oh, try this brooder. Have you had a brooder before? They haven't, and
And it
they've
works.
tried a new wine, yeah, or the Muscadet.
So, going into our last one, I think who's talking, Andrea's talking about this one?
Yeah, well, let's let it
Let's
ride.
go.
I mean, I have
Yeah.
notes here, but I'm not sure I need.
Yeah,
This. Made me fall in love with Grenache. It is amazing. So there's a tiny little funny story about this, Mark. When this first came on, it's called Tres Picos, and my mom's side is Hispanic, so I know a little bit of Spanish. He called it Three Picos. And I said, you can't do that,
Yeah.
it's gotta be, and then he goes, well, what about Trace Peaks? And I said, no, you have to, it's either Three Peaks or Trace Picos, which is just funny. This wine is amazing if you have anybody that likes a dry, full body red. It is not too heavy, but oh my gosh, it's
she's supposed to talk about the wine, not like,
Yeah.
not make love with it right
just
now.
so good.
She actually hit a lot of stuff. It does have bold flavors, blackberries, cherries, plums, along with hints of spice, vanilla, smoke from oak aging.
Yep.
Which I know a lot of the wines, especially the red wines Andrea and I always enjoy, usually have some sort of oak aging process.
Yeah.
Or
Or
barrel.
bourbon barrel,
Yeah,
those
correct.
kinds, yes.
To her Hispanic roots, not only is it excellent food pairing with grilled meats, obviously great steak, probably like this. I'm actually getting
Yeah,
hungry
your
now.
bigger lasagna, shepherd's
Roast-
pie,
yeah,
your bigger.
stews,
Yeah.
and then Spanish dishes like lamb and chorizo. For the white people, it's not chorizo, it's chorizo.
It's so.
It's only taken them 24 years to figure that out.
I've actually always been good. And in fact, we laugh when we're watching shows, even with like shows on the Food Network, and the chef will say
It must be-
chorizo.
It must be appropriate to say both ways,
Like
but
the Muscadet?
but the R is not, yeah,
Yeah.
the R is not.
It is.
It's a.
It is
or a-
chorizo.
Yeah.
I can't roll my R's, but that's close enough, so. So, all right, well, they're starting to taste the Tres Picos, which my wife may have
Yes.
gone already. We are tasting Nelson Brothers. Now, this is one of my favorite wines. So a little quick history, Charles Nelson actually began distilling this back in like the 1860s. And then they actually and they were one of the top bourbon makers out of Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee area. Got shut down during Prohibition around 1909. And then kind of obviously after Prohibition kind of been coming back. And then, Andy and Charlie Nelson, descendants, of course, of Charles Nelson, started to revive the brand about that 09 period, which, and then, it doesn't really give a lot of information. They don't have, like, I know a lot of bourbon makers have 3 or 4 different types or blends or versions, whatever you call it. There's 2, maybe 3. They really promote just their classic, which is what we have here. And then they have a reserve, which is probably their higher end, more expensive version, which we just have the classic here, which I love. It's just one of my favorites.
Very smooth.
And yeah, it's smooth with, again, that little slight bite at the end,
Okay, let me try it.
which I really enjoy.
And that one is,
I'm gonna try it first.
Okay,
that one's $40 a bottle, that one's 65. So very approachable price points.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to try
That,
the bourbon too before you. commit
Oh,
to it,
100%.
Because they're all different.
They
well,
are.
what you say too is that if you're mixing it, if you're making old fashions, you
Yeah.
don't need the higher price point because you're essentially
taking away a lot of
losing some
flavor.
of that, yeah.
Yeah.
me being like that little slight bite at the end, that smoothness at the
Oh,
beginning.
yes.
This is actually a rare, because I too,
Keep this kid friendly, thank you.
Yeah.
This one is good.
yeah,
It tastes like the, whatever, you don't have to say it, 'cause they don't have it here, but whatever the one is at home that I drink, that's
yeah,
it.
I can't remember what it is, but this is one of the rare bourbons that, I like my stuff on ice.
Yeah.
All my whiskeys and stuff, and bourbons.
Mm.
This is one that if the world ran out of ice, I could drink this room temperature.
I could drink that warm.
So let's throw a couple plugs out there. I know we've talked about pairing this with food. You guys do have a food menu, a very small one,
We
right?
do, yeah, charcuterie boards, olives, things like that, yeah.
So, if you need a little snack or something to pair it with, they do have that opportunity here.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people bring in food?
We don't right now.
Okay.
If there's a private event, you can rent the space out, we'll allow them to cater it, but
Okay.
right now we don't.
And you could rent the space on like any day or
Yeah.
any day, so.
What I will elaborate on that is that we've got awesome restaurants right in the area, so a lot of times people will come here for a pre-dinner drink.
Yep.
Soon go across the street to our new restaurant that's gonna be opening in a few months, we're so excited for that, that's been a missing link. But you're right next door to Fred's, right next door to John's, there's Zumpanos up the street, Napoli's, Zumpanos is a block away, Napoli's up a couple blocks. Got archives in there, so there's just a
A
lot
ton
of
of
food,
opportunities, yeah.
Super Taco Muy, like within a block or two of
Yeah.
here. Are tons of food options, so you can just walk over there, and then a lot of times they end up back here for an after dinner cocktail again too, so.
Or when your girls are at dance, you can come.
Yes,
here, have
pop
a
in
drink.
for a drink for an
Yeah,
hour.
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, you
or
definitely,
2 hours.
and you can touch on this, because, what are normal hours?
So normal hours are Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 8,
Okay.
Friday, 4 to 9, and Saturday, 3 to 9.
Okay.
We're not gonna kick anybody out, but those are
Yeah,
the core hours.
People always ask me like, oh, they kick me out at 9 o'clock. No, it's usually like a last
Last
call around
call,
9
yeah.
o'clock. And you get some time to,
Yeah.
you're no, by no means anyone ever rushed.
Right.
Unless there's a Michigan game on that Mark wants to go to.
Yeah, that's
That-
only slight.
Often will not see Mark on Saturdays
Yeah.
during fall football,
Yeah, during
but
fall.
we do have 3 TVs, so it usually turns into a wine/sports bar.
Correct, yes, so yeah, and then seasonally movies of different types are
Yeah.
off the shelves, things like that.
Both bachelorette.
Anything just coming up in 2025 that's new, different, or that you wanna mention?
Like any events or, upcoming changes or.
So we don't, so this year we did a passport series of wine tasting. Where each tasting, we kind of visited a different country.
Okay.
That's been going great, we still have a lot of countries to visit, so we'll probably continue that. We have just started working with Infinity Coffee, Val and Jesse, from Infinity Coffee and Beyond in the Loop. To start doing wine pairing dinners, we've had 2. So we're doing a lot,
Amazing.
and we'll do a lot more of those, especially in the first quarter of the year, when it's really quiet and there's not a lot going on, we'll probably try to sneak in a January 1, a February 1, and a March 1. Facebook, Instagram are the best way to find out about those things.
Another, I love that we've mentioned different small businesses here in town, which is one of the things I love. You guys are very pro and supporting other small businesses, partnering with other businesses and everything. I know you and Andrew partnered with different things with the cookies and different, just craft ventures and classes that have taken place either at Creative Corner, or here at Buzz.
Yep.
I know you have a lot of other businesses.
Like Lauren for blueberries,
Laura from Blueberries
last
next
night
door.
did,
She did all the tables.
they
the
were
centerpieces.
gorgeous
Yeah.
for the dinner, for the
And then-
wine dinner
And
last
then
night.
Andrea and I do, she'll teach a cookie class and we'll include alcohol. Jackie from Forest Farms, it's been nice, it's the most adorable plant class. We've done some succulent and planted sips, and then we did a rebuilding class, so she and I have a bunch of other classes that we'll be planning out. We try to do, I mean, we're not gonna do bingo, we're not gonna do live music.
Sure.
We're not gonna do trivia, because those are available,
Other
there's
things.
so many other places in
Yeah.
town, and
Yeah.
we should all visit all
I'm probably not gonna ask you to put maybe a golf simulator here,
of
something
them.
like that.
Probably not, but
Probably
I
not.
know Mike's Eagle is a fantastic one.
He does, again, and, but we had,
No, I've seen their office, this looks like that massive
could be
dam,
a
when they do that.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Mike's, yeah, we've had, in fact, we've had Mike's Eagle was one of our first small business. Cause that's, thanks for the segue, by the way, Andrea, that we had on our podcast. Now, we didn't go to local photos to him. He came into the studio with us, but this is our first on-site. We wanted to keep doing this. We wanna definitely highlight different local businesses. If you're interested in having this come broadcast in your space, you can come to our studio. If you don't wanna broadcast your space, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
And, thanks for, Melissa and Andrea for joining us today, and Melissa for being the first Burlington business to host us.
Yeah.
Guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Well, oh, wait for.
I gotta-
I
gotta grab my shirt. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's.